It's Friday, the 1st of March 2024. Welcome to the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories, 5 minutes. Let's get going. Story number 1, the price of houses across the country rose by 0.6% in February, which is more than 7% on an annualised basis, providing the strongest monthly gain since last October.
It comes as auction clearance rates have bounced back and all major cities and rest of state regions recorded a lift in value over the month, with the exception of poor old Hobart, according to CoreLogic. While there are gains, most areas are showing lower growth rates than the highs of last year when the national index rose 1.3%. Perth is the standout, 1.8%. Over last month. Adelaide, Brisbane and the regional areas of South Australia, Western Australia and Queensland are consistently growing around that 1% level per month. Still very good. The growth rates in Sydney and Melbourne home values have levelled out, but at least Melbourne went forward last month, only just 0.1%, and Sydney dwelling values have moved back into positive territory over the past couple of months, recording that followed small declines late last year.
All right, that's a very comprehensive look, Sean, at what has already happened. Now the harder part. Tell me what's going to happen, particularly to prices.
Much harder. No one, including CoreLogic's research director Tim Lawless, is expecting huge jumps in prices. He says last year's rate hikes dented capital gains, but weren't enough to extinguish growth entirely. The shortfall in housing supply relative to housing demand continues to put upward pressure on home values across most regions. However, it's hard to see a significant rebound in values given a bunch of downside factors: affordability constraints, rising unemployment, a slowdown in the rate of household savings, and a cautious lending environment. So don't expect a boom year in 2024.
Okay, on to story number 2 now. And retail trade figures for January have disappointed, but business investment, which is a key driver of economic growth, is stronger than forecast.
Yes, it was a busy day for the Bureau yesterday. Mixed news on the economy, really, starting with the retail trade figures. Economists had expected a big jump in turnover following a couple of very weak months. It didn't happen. Sales were up just 1.1%. Over the 3 months, the value of retail spending is pretty much flat, while growth in volumes is actually negative. Households aren't spending like they were. However, businesses are investing. Basically, consumer spending and government spending, let's just ignore COVID for a bit, tend to be fairly stable. Not so much investment, it goes up and down a bit. So what happens to business investment really matters to the economy. Business spending has come in higher than expected, and the Bureau of Statistics survey also asks businesses what they think they'll spend in the future, and that was good news too, with a solid uplift for the next financial year, particularly in service industries and specifically in information media and telcos, along with utilities. The bottom line to that: household consumption not so good, investment pretty good.
Story number 3, Sean, is really the story that everyone's been talking about over the last few days. ASIO chief Mike Burgess is under pressure to name the former Australian politician who was allegedly recruited by a foreign spy agency and betrayed their country, with opposition leader Peter Dutton speculating that it's an ex-Labor MP from New South Wales with links to China.
Yes, and former Treasurer Joe Hockey called for the name to be revealed, but Deputy Prime Minister Richard Marles backed the decision by the Security Agency's Director General not to name the former politician. Mr Burgess claims that the politician told spies he could bring an unnamed Prime Minister's family member into their orbit. Delivering his annual threat assessment on Wednesday night, Mr Burgess revealed that spies from an unnamed country he dubbed as the A-Team had been conducting extensive intelligence gathering activities in Australia. He revealed details of their work, including the cultivation of bureaucrats with security clearances, academics, business figures and political identities, offering them thousands of dollars to hand over secrets. We're going to hear a lot more about this one, Michael.
Yeah, certainly seems like that. All right, on to story number 4 now, Sean. And Australia's largest white goods and home retailer, Harvey Norman, yesterday said sales and profits were in sharp decline in the December half, though Executive Chair Gerry Harvey says the company is well placed for a rebound in the construction cycle.
Also helping, according to Mr Harvey, is a jump in immigration. Sales at company-owned stores in Australia and overseas and franchised Harvey Norman, Domain and Joyce Main sites were down 7%. That meant lower franchise fees for the company and pre-tax profit was off 46%. Back in October, Harvey Norman warned that its pre-tax profits had halved in the first 3 months of the financial year. Hence, the result was actually better than expected and the group's share price jumped more than 4%.
All right, last one, Sean. It's been a very slow start to the year for Hollywood, but hopes are very high that Dune 2 can turn around fortunes of Movieland?
Last year around this time, we had Avatar and Ant-Man and the Wasp, both blockbusters. This year, we've had Mean Girls, Bob Marley, One Love, not exactly blockbusters. But tonight, Dune 2 opens in the US. Pre-sales are the best since the Taylor Swift concert back in October last year. Dune Part 2 is based on Frank Herbert's science fiction novels about warring intergalactic dynasties. It's already received critical acclaim. It's projected to bring in about $75 million in its first weekend. That would be the biggest domestic opening since the Taylor Swift movie. Better financial comparison, basically John Wick Chapter 2 came out about this time last year. It ended up making about $400 million. I think that's what the hopes are for Dune 2.
All right, there we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Friday, the 1st of March, 2024. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. If 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed Business News wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.